Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. And today's is especially amazing for yours truly, for myself. Referrals Podcast listeners, get ready because today's episode is straight fire. I recently had the incredible honor of being a guest on the MREA Podcast. Yes, that MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the podcast hosted by Jason Abrams. And let me tell you, we went deep. We went strong. We went all out. We brought the fire. And I will tell you that Jason and I had maybe one of the most powerful conversations I've ever had about topics every single real estate professional should be thinking about right now. What you're about to hear and what I dive into is, first of all, my biggest takeaway from the legendary MREA book by Gary Keller, the #1 book in real estate history. The second thing is I talk about how I got into the real estate business, and that may actually surprise you, how I got started and what started from the beginning. In fact, I open this podcast with a reveal that I've never revealed before in any podcast or any Zoom that I've ever done. Also, I'm going to talk about how you can create meaningful connections at networking events so that it's no longer awkward. You don't have to worry about small talk or wasted time. You're going to be more efficient when meeting new people. And also, the game-changing difference between the three types of events. There are I events, we events, and they events, and I describe exactly what knowing the difference can do for you and how it can shift everything in your business. I'm so excited to bring you this first part of the episode right here on Referrals Podcast, but trust me, you're going to want to hear the whole thing and get the show notes, which Jason does a great job of sharing. So once you've listened to this part, I encourage you to head over to the MREA Podcast and subscribe, and you'll find the full episode linked in the show notes. And also, you can download a one-pager at mreanotes.com that Jason and his team put together as a summary of the system, strategy, and the journey that I share during the podcast. So now buckle up. Here's my conversation with Jason Abrams on the MREA Podcast.
It's party time, MREA style, friends. I love saying that. I'm excited to say it. We're about to do what I think might just be one of the greatest episodes we've ever done. I know I always say that. This show is going to be unbelievable. We are going to be joined today by a world-renowned author. He wrote the book, The 7 Levels of Communication. It is active and available in every English-speaking country, but here's what's cool. He is a real estate agent before he ever picked up the pen and wrote the story. Friends, I am speaking about none other than Michael Maher. He is Jedi when it comes to creating experiences, and he is going to tell us exactly how to have the most powerful events in the real estate industry. Spoiler alert, I think he does. Sit back and buckle up. This is Michael Maher. Today, I am joined by best-selling author Michael Maher. Michael, how are you, sir?
Doing awesome, sir. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I ask everybody, I'm kind of torn, if I'm honest, because I ask everybody the same question. How did you end up in the greatest industry in the world? With you, I want to ask, but I also want to know how you wrote a book that's written in every English-speaking country, because it's astounding. But let's start with real estate. How did you end up in the real estate business?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story. As I was teaching, I was actually a math teacher and coach.
Wait a second. I'm not. A math teacher?
Yeah, I don't lead with that very often, buddy. I don't lead with that.
You're the one real estate agent that can do math.
Well, and even teach it a little bit. But I have to tell you, if you can teach high schoolers math, you can sell anything. That's the truth. Because, they're like, we're not using this in the real world. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And yet you are. So, yeah. So after my second year, I decided that my wife and I, Sherry, were going to get our first home. And we bought a new home. We went through the models and we continued to talk to the agents in the model home. And they kept saying, you got to get in real estate. You should totally get into real estate. I think they said that to everybody, but I went for it. And I'd always wanted to invest in real estate. So I thought, well, I need to get my real estate license to learn more about investing in real estate. But you and I both know I went to a class to basically learn how to pass the test to get into real estate. I ended up passing the test, and I honestly wasn't going to do too much with it, but I also had summers off as a teacher. So we rolled right into the summer, and I just thought, well, I might as well do something with this. So I started talking to people. I did the same things that a lot of us are taught to do, which was I door knocked, which interestingly enough, the fifth door I knocked, Jason, was one of the top agents in town.
It's the best.
She lit me up. Do not come back to this neighborhood. Don't quit doing what you're doing. She basically lit me up and she taught me a lesson. And I just want you to know, like my entire career in Kansas City with real estate, I didn't sell very many homes in that neighborhood. I think I was just scared from the initial fright. So I just was kind of going and doing that. And then I also played semi-pro softball at the same time. And one of my teammates basically took one for the team. His name is Davey. And Davey decided that, you know what, I don't want to hear about it all summer if I don't use Maher as my realtor. So he was basically, all right, we're looking, we'll work with you. And that's kind of how it got started. I literally just kind of got started easily and slowly and thought I was going to be a teacher and coach forever.
So at some point you end up reading MREA.
Mm-hmm.
What insight do you have from that? What did that book do for you or mean for you?
Well, it triggered a lot, especially with the Mets versus the not Mets. And it was really one of those where I kind of was thinking like, well, even from my interaction, I noticed that if you haven't talked to somebody for 6 months, they're basically like a not Met. So you've really got to communicate and be on top of people quite a bit.
Well, let's walk us through this because this is the People's Podcast, man. So every time we air, we pick up new listeners across all different real estate companies. When we say MREA, we're talking about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. That was written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan and Dave Jenks, may he rest in peace. And in that book, they lay out this concept of Mets and not Mets. Michael, how did you interpret that? What does it mean?
Yeah, so Mets are essentially anybody you've ever met, and the outside group was everybody that you have not met. Sounds pretty basic. But what was interesting about it was that if after a certain amount of time, especially with clients and past clients, if you hadn't spoken to them, you might as well call them a not met. Or they could even be worse than a not met because of the communication line being broken. So I'm like, I got to develop a system where I am in constant communication with everyone. And if you kind of boil my success down to a couple of words, it would be networking and metworking. Networking was because I didn't have a sphere. I didn't have a lot of people who knew me. And those that knew me as a softball player or a teacher. And it wasn't super respectful. It was just kind of like a teacher and a coach and a guy who had his summers off to play softball, honestly. I mean, let's be real.
Which sounds awesome, by the way. Let me just say that. What I wouldn't do for a summer off to play softball, forget about it, my friend.
It was awesome. I got to travel all across the United States and play and was, paid to do it and didn't have to pay to do it. So it was awesome. So what was interesting is with the networking, what I discovered is that when I would go to a networking event, they didn't see me with my teacher hat on. They saw me with my realtor badge on, and they saw me with my realtor hat on. So their perception didn't have to be changed, like my family's did, like my network that I already had did. By networking, they saw me with a realtor hat on. And I got lucky with Davey and Vanessa. And quickly with Davey and Vanessa. Davey was a teammate, And I remember showing homes, Jason, with Davey and Vanessa, praying they would not make an offer. Think about that. Like in real estate, you get paid for closings. I'm literally talking them out of houses when we're showing houses because I didn't know how to write a contract. I didn't know what was next. I didn't go through KW. I didn't start at KW. And so I had been to a couple of team meetings on, business meetings, but I didn't know what was next. So I was scared, like, oh God, I'm about to be exposed as a fraud if they want to write an offer. But I remember talking them out of these homes. And then the third weekend when he went out, we went through a new home subdivision in a brand new school district, just outstanding. All the characteristics were outstanding. And we went through the model home garage, and there was two ladies there, and we're just like, yeah, do you want to go through the homes? And we're saying yes. We got through the third model. The first two, they were like, ooh. The third one, we've all seen it. It's done. The gleam in the eye is there. They're measuring for furniture. They've literally moved in mentally. We went through the fourth model, did not have the same buzz, but the third model was it. We're walking back down the sidewalk and they're like skipping, like literally skipping. I am behind them sweating because I know the gig is up. The gig is up. We go in through the garage door and the lady there does what she should. She goes, well, what'd you guys think? Vanessa goes, we loved number 3, all negotiating power right out the window. And right then I was just like, it is up, Michael Maher. So the lady behind the desk goes, well, do you want me to write it up? And I go, yes, I do. I want you to write that up and you're going to make sure everything is perfect because I'm going to read every line. And I was definitely going to do that. And I just said at the last second, just make sure that we have the right to do inspections, make sure that's in there. Well, it was a 60-day spec. It was almost finished. And, 45 days later, we had the inspections. God bless America. They found something. It was kind of a big deal. The builder fixed it with no problem. I look like a dang hero just for getting that one inspection in. And then we closed a couple of weeks later. And then, Jason, here's the thing. I'm a softball player. For those that don't know what that means, it's code word for get together with your buddies and drink beer. That's what that really is, right? Well, Davey was a buddy from softball. So my next reaction is party at his house. So I had a housewarming party about 45 days after they moved in. And listen, I still think back fondly of that very first housewarming party because the switch clicked for me. It was celebratory, congratulatory. Everybody was so happy. They were happy for Davey and Vanessa. But you know what, Jason? They were also really happy for me. They were like, Michael, great job with this. Maher, you rocked it on this one, great job. And there were 38 people at that housewarming party, and I got 11 referrals at the very first housewarming party. 11 referrals from, other softball players. Davey's parents were there. Vanessa's parents were there. I ended up selling their homes in the next year and a half from that party, and 11 referrals from the very first housewarming party.
So when you say there's networking, which is I meet somebody and they know I'm a realtor from the beginning, and now there's networking. The party, the event is the networking.
It kind of is, right? And I see it as there's 3 types of events.
Hang on, because everyone that listening to you now knows what time it is. Friends, we are about to go into a model that is going to change your business. Now, I'm taking all the notes. You don't have to. The notes come out every single Thursday via email. If you don't get them or you're new to the broadcast, head over to MREAnotes.com. That's MREAnotes.com. You will get the PDF, my promise to you. Michael, tell me exactly how to have the most powerful events in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate that. And I'm on fire for this right now. There's 3 types of events. There's the I event, the we event, and the they event. And the I event is something we try to avoid. But if you've ever bought drinks for a bar, you've done an I event. You're paying for all of them. Everybody's thanking you, high-fiving you. And a lot of agents try to have I events when they have their events. And I will tie this to networking here in a second. But the I events, we try to avoid those. I try to avoid teaching people from the who is not you is what I keep telling people. The greeter at the event is not you. The planner of the event is not you. The who is not you. Just remember the who is not you. We need people to help us, and we've got people in our sphere that literally would love to help us throw an event. So then we have the we events. A we event is me and sponsor partners, or me and my team and volunteers and sponsor partners. Like, it's a we event. Like, it's our event versus my event. And the best events are we events. We events are also, we have control. So I have control over the invite list. I have control of the venue. And this is maybe the most important thing. I have control of the experience. I am a huge believer. If you had to sum up my philosophy, is I am someone who creates experiences. I create the ultimate buyer experience. I create the ultimate seller experience. And I create the ultimate attendee experience or guest experience at my events. That's what I always am looking to do. So the we events are the ones that I teach the most and I really believe in the most. And then you have the they events. They events are really like the house ring party. Even though we're kind of helping, the event is really Davey and Vanessa's event. It's their event. It's not for us to sell at. It's not for us to market at. It's for us to celebrate Davey and Vanessa. Well, there's a lot of they events. A networking event is a they event. They're hosting. You're going to it as a guest. You're visiting they events. You're hosting we events. And the important discernment here is that networking are the they events and networking are the we events. And my strategy, if you summed it all up, how did I go from 0 to 187 transactions in 3 years, right? And over 200 for the rest of my career. It was essentially going to they events with the intent on inviting them to my we events. And I would host 3 we events a year. And any they event, any networking I went to, my job is, all right, I've met them. Now I want to do networking, which was so much more powerful than one-to-ones, phone calls, pop buys or anything else, because they got to talk to each other. With events, you get this really powerful synergy of like plus like equals 2 loves. Someone who likes you meets someone who likes you. Well, what's the first thing they're going to talk about? It's you. They're going to tell you, how do you know Michael? Well, they talk and, oh, Michael's great. And what happens is social proof kicks in. And when they separate after that conversation, they both love you. And also they're more emboldened and more empowered to go out and speak highly of you and refer you because they met each other. And that can only happen at events. So you would get that real synergistic and powerful combination with the we events. So it was really visit they events. And the they events, we need to make sure that people know is that that's any social circle that you have. So if you're a part of the PTA, that's a they event. If you are a Boy Scout leader or troop leader, that's a they event. If you're part of a club, mom's club, whatever it may be, then that's a they event. And Jason, the thing about real estate is that when we're at a they event, how do we market? We're always, I don't want to be that ultra direct person who is pushing real estate in a non-real estate environment. So how do we get to them? How do we get business from these other social circles? I believe the answer is that we invite them to our event. And then when they're in our house, so to speak, then we create this experience for them and they're won over. They're won over not by me, but by the experience and by meeting other people who are speaking highly of me.
This makes all the sense in the world to me, by the way. And what I love is that you're speaking to the agent who is not solicitous. Someone who doesn't want to walk around, meet strangers at random and say, hey, do you know anyone who wants to buy and sell? This feels far more organic. So I got 2 questions up to this point, Michael, and then I'm going to let you keep going. When I go to a they event, which my big aha right now is that they're happening all around me 24 hours a day. Do I have that right?
The opportunity is endless. Yes.
You tell me my goal there is to go to a they event and then ultimately earn the right to invite them to a we event. How do I do that?
I'm so glad you asked because it's a 3-step process. And what we want to do is we want to initiate the introduction first. So I have, it's in 7 levels of communication and most of these strategies are. I wish I would have maybe gone into more length on events in 7L, but maybe that's the next book. So the thing is, initiate the introduction is there's 7 steps to connecting with connectors, 7 steps. So if I'm going to a they event, I'm a huge introvert. I'm not going in to meet 200 people.
Get out of here. Wait a second. Are you really introverted? Because
huge.
You and I are good friends, and I find I'm fascinated when I listen to you. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, I am a huge introvert. I much rather get energy. I get energy by retreating instead of getting energy through people. And so I developed all of these systems to honestly cover up my own huge fear of rejection and to not socialize with too many people, which sounds crazy. He's talking about events and he's an introvert. But I have to say, if you're an introvert, you have to do events. You have to, because you're not going to socialize enough to maybe have enough conversations either that you create or that others have about you. And the thing is the magic that I kind of caught on to was that, man, it was great getting my extroverts together because they did all the talking to each other. I'm literally, Jason, I was standing at a Royals event, 2,000 people of my people, and I wasn't talking to a soul. And they were all so happy. And I was too, because I think sometimes the best place for an introvert to hide is a really busy event, because they're all
so good,
they're all talking to each other. And that's the thing is, it eventually became where I didn't have to talk about myself at all. The army of ambassadors that I've created through these events are talking for me.
Walk me through this then, because I want to stay linear. So I'm at a they event. The first thing I got to do is initiate the introduction. What does that mean?
All right. So step 1, this is the step that a lot of people forget, is I'm going in with the spirit of helpfulness. Step 1 is I'm not going to a networking event with the idea of taking or getting business, which is so counterintuitive. And I believe that it's just not taught enough. I'm going into this group to help. I'm just going there to see what I can do to help. And if I happen to get business, great. And what I've also discovered is if you go in with the spirit of helpfulness, in a lot of cases, you're going to get business from it. So step 2 is call the membership chair or the person who is in charge, the person, PIC, person in charge of the event. You're going to call them and you're going to say, tell me more about your group. Tell me more about this event. And then here's a magic question. So who's going to be there that you think I should meet? Who's somebody that really represents your group well? And they're always going to tell you because they want you to join that group. So it's they give you a name. Let's call him David, right? All right, great. Tell me a little bit about David. Oh, wow, he sounds awesome. This sounds like a great group already. Well, let's say David's not there. Who are a couple others that I could meet if David's not there? Oh, Cindy and Denise. Okay, so Cindy and Denise, tell me a little about, okay. All right, so just in case those 3 aren't there, give me a couple more that I can really go for, right? And it's Jason and Cody, right? And now I am going to go Google those 5, what I consider connectors. She's obviously the membership chair. In this case, I'm thinking of a gal named Dana, right? And she's obviously going to tell us people who are connectors and well represented and probably influential. And so she's literally, out of 200 attendees, told me the 5 people I need to meet.
That is brilliant. And I've never heard that.
Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And here's the thing. It was, what is it? Mother is the invention. Is that, what is it? Mother is the invention.
Necessity.
All necessity, right? So I had to do it because I wasn't going to meet all 200 people. So it's how do I cut to the chase? I have a D component as well as an I and a C component on my disc. So it's I want to make the most amount of money, deliver the most amount of value in the shortest amount of time so that I can get the referrals in the shortest amount of time, right? And so then I'm going to Google those 5 to 6 people. I'm going to go and I'm going to be 15 to 20 minutes early. I'm going to find the person that's in charge, and let's call her Dana because that's who I have in mind. And I'm going to go to Dana and I'm just going to, hey, I'm Michael, and I'm going to be dressed like $1 million. I'm going to represent. And it's hey, Dana, I just want to let you know I'm Michael. I called you. And here's the thing. I know you're still getting set up. How can I help? Where can I help? Can I set something up? Can I go put chairs out? Can I move the tables? Whatever you need. It's oh, great, thanks. Can you actually help hang that banner, right? So go hang a banner. She also now knows who I am, right? All right, the event gets going. They do their announcements. Then it's open networking. Well, then I see one of the 5 connectors. I don't go to the connector, which is super counterintuitive. I'm not going to go direct. And first of all, that can really get awkward, especially if you know like the kids stuff and you really did a good job on Facebook and Google and you know a lot about them. It could just be a little weird. No, I'm going to go to Dana and I'm going to go, Dana, I just saw that Cody's here. Can you do me a favor and introduce me to Cody? So Dana walks me over to Cody. Sometimes Cody's talking to somebody else already and they'll interrupt. I didn't interrupt, but Dana's like, she's super powerful and she's a get things done person. So she goes, Cody, I just wanted you to meet Michael. And what's amazing about this is even early in my career, the person in charge would introduce me as like, this is a top real estate agent in town. This is a big dog in the real estate world. Literally. And I didn't deny it, right? It's like, well, thank you, but my 3 transactions I've done is huge business. I understand that.
It's so good.
But because of my approach, she thought the only person who does this is somebody who, is being successful. So I would meet with them, but I was looking to only have a frog conversation, right? So we're on step 4 and 5 of the 7 steps to connecting with connectors. And so I would, have a frog conversation and I wanted to keep it short.
Wait, well, you can't say I'm having a frog conversation and then not at least tell us in a sentence what that means.
Yeah, it's my twist on Ford or form, 2, acronyms that have been around forever.
What does frog stand for? What's that?
Yeah, family.
Okay.
Recreation.
Okay.
Occupation.
Okay.
And then goals. And the goals are the different part, but for me, it was hugely important to have the word goals. And I wanted to go in that order. So it's a little different order than the other acronyms. And I also had the opportunity to imagine a frog on their head, which always made me kind of smile, right? So, all right, now it's time for the frog conversation.
Why is it so important to have goals in there?
Yeah. So notice we've talked about family a little bit. Are you from here? Family do things. Recreation. What do you do when you're not doing what you do? And then occupation, which is why we get to the point pretty quickly. And they tell me about how they got in, what they did. And then I want to say, after those 3, I go, what are your goals? Now, notice we've talked about family, recreation, and occupation. The goal they're going to tell me about is going to be one of those 3 things. And sometimes they give me a golf goal. Sometimes they give me a family travel goal. Sometimes they give me a sales goal or a business goal. Well, I instantly know which is more important out of FOR because of the goal that they've shared with me. And listen, the powerful thing in life is giving massive value first, like generosity, right? I founded the generosity generation. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I believe, a generous one shall be a prosperous one, like it says in Proverbs 11:25. So giving massive value first, but you can't give massive value first without knowing what they value. Like, how do you give value without knowing? And the 3 things we can help with is conquering a challenge, helping them achieve a dream, or helping them achieve a goal. So when they tell me their goal, I have a power that I didn't have before. I have a power to help them achieve a goal. If I do that, then we're going to build this great reciprocal relationship. So what are your goals? They tell me their goals. And Jason, this is a powerful kind of next series here that sometimes people get left out. They just think it's chit chat and small talk, but then they tell about their goals and let them talk as long as they need to about it. And then I'm going to stop and I go, hey, you probably feel like this is 20 questions. I've asked you a lot of questions, but I'm genuinely curious. But let me ask you, do you have any questions for me? Now, what was the last question that I asked them?
What their goals were.
So guess what? If we believe in question reciprocity, which is people tend to, at 80% likelihood, ask the last question to you that you ask them. So what question are they going to ask me?
What are your goals?
What are your goals? So we need to be ready to answer that. And by the way, wouldn't it be great if we could set up a conversation where somebody else asked us what our goals were? And this doesn't. Now, we're not manipulating. If it doesn't go there, it doesn't go there. But it goes there quite often. So let's massage it. Let's let it happen. So then they say, what are your goals? And I go, my weekly referral goal is to give 10 referrals and receive 5 referrals. And that is my answer to that question every single time. What are your goals? And I will either answer with referrals and they'll laugh or whatever it is. And then I'll go, but my weekly referral goal is to give 10 referrals and receive 5 referrals. And then we have a conversation about that, or we don't. But here's what that always leads to. It sounds like we should meet. It sounds like we should have a one-to-one. My goal for this interaction, out of the 5 people, if I like them and it seems like there's chemistry there, then my goal is to take 5 or 4 of those and put them into one-to-one. I want to put them into a one-to-one, right? So that's my strategy with every day event. Because eventually I'm going to take, let's say all 5 of them agree to a one-to-one. I'm going to have a more thorough and deeper one-to-one with them. And then that kicks in, like, interview the interesting is step 2 of the 3 steps, right, that we talked about, or initiate the introduction. And then we want to interview the interesting. And that's what I'm doing that they don't know, is I'm interviewing them. When we're setting one-to-one, I'm interviewing them to see if they're going to be a fit for my referral network. And if they are, it goes into step 3, which is invite them to my event.
Wow. By the way, I'm listening to this and I'm putting myself in the place of the person you're meeting. This would feel wildly organic and like a natural way to create a powerful friendship.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, and it's all based on love, generosity, and appreciation. So, I mean, I'm not manipulating. I just have a system for attraction. I have a system for moving them closer to me. And now here's the thing. I've also interviewed the interesting and found out that I don't want them to be a part of my network.
They're not that interesting.
Well, yes. And they're a taker. They're super aggressive. And that doesn't fit with my community. My community is built on generosity, love, and appreciation. So, and I've made that mistake early in my career. My second housewarming party I actually had with a lender who was super aggressive at the party, and it kind of ruined a little, not totally, but it actually gave it a 9 out of 10 feel instead of a 10 out of 10 feel.
That's actually a great segue because I understand now how I'm going to meet people. I love how purposeful it is, by the way. I have a plan now when I'm going to the they event, and I'm going to get to my one-on-one, and I'm going to invite them then to a we event. How do I start to think about creating this experience?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is